So this just happened. Ace Frehley passed away. Um, yeah, a legend. Ace Frehley is dead. He was 74. Um, man, this dude was one of the founding members of Kiss. He fell not long ago, and he had a brain bleed. So, they're not saying why he died, but they think that's probably what happened. Um, he canceled all of his tour dates for October. I mean, he was in the studio not long ago when this fall happened. The dude was getting old, man, and he lived really hard. Um, Ace Frehley's Comet, man. He left Kiss in 1982, and he busted out New York Groove, and then came back to Kiss, and they made that just like a giant hit. It was a big part of who they were, the New York Groove. He was in Morristown, New Jersey. I don't know where, Pennsylvania. He was in New Jersey with his family when he passed away. It just happened, literally just now. Um, yeah, man. I mean, I grew up on Kiss, man. I grew up at the skating rink. I grew up shooting the duck, man. I grew up with Kiss, man. They were part of the soundtrack of my life, and it's really hard to imagine rock and roll without Ace Frehley. And I mean, what about the rest of the members? What about Paul Stanley? What about Gene Simmons? They're getting up there in years. And I can't imagine a world without those guys because, like I said, man, they're a huge part of the soundtrack of my life. I also loved Twisted Sister when I was a kid, and I will tell you a little bit of trivia that not a lot of people may know. Maybe a lot of people do know. I don't know. But when Kiss was, they were auditioning for their original, um, lineup, one of the guitar players that Kiss auditioned was J.J. French. And I mean, he was like a shoe-in. He was it, man. J.J. French's guitar style is amazing. And he was like a shoe-in. And then, something happened and they just decided not to go with him and they went with Ace Frehley. And so just imagine the iconic sound of Kiss without Ace Frehley and with that slightly more gritty sound that J.J. French brought to Twisted Sister. I mean, he was gritty, but he was also melodic. I mean, when you think about some of the really big songs in the 80s, that's the nature of the beast, and the J.J. French, I know I'm not doing it justice and probably looking really, cringy doing it, but I mean, J.J. French was ripping off some crazy stuff in the early 80s, and he was almost Kiss's guitar player. What would have happened? What would history in rock and roll look like had they not gone with Ace Frehley? So, yeah, folks, Ace Frehley, he is dead today, October 16th, just passed. His family just let out a statement. 74 years old, man. Frehley's Comet. Ace Frehley. Kiss. And I'm sure he was probably part of the soundtrack of most of y'all's life, too. And, he was hard drinking and unapologetic to the end. He had kind of gotten a little spoiled talking about how hard life was for him, but yet he was still getting that room service every morning, still jumping on those jets and flying all over the place, getting out of bed at 10 o'clock in the morning to start a hard day of, promoting his sound. And I love the guy. I love the guy. I'm not making fun of him. I'm just saying it's amazing how these people that are so wealthy and how who are so iconic, how they kind of lose touch with the reality of the common man, of the common fan, ladies and gentlemen that love their music, kids that grew up with them, and we're living the struggle, man. The struggle's real. I get up at 4 o'clock, man, so I can go bust a hump all day so I can buy my kids shoes, and then I get home and give them shoes and they don't like them. And I'm like, these are the baddest, Adidas shoes on the market. But that's life, man. Those are the struggles that we face. Some people have to figure out whether they're going to pay the rent or, the grocery bill. And you got these rock stars, man. They're just like, their biggest gripe is that their handler didn't buy the amount of alcohol they wanted, or, they didn't, whatever. But Ace Frehley, man, dead at 74. At 74. God bless him, man. God bless him. Thank you, Ace Frehley, for all that you gave us. Thank you for all the times that I was at the skating rink and I was a kid and I was feeling myself because of your music, dude. Thank you for all the times that I worked up the courage to go talk to a girl because I was listening to your music. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to Gene Simmons, and thank you to Paul Stanley, and thank you to Peter Criss, and thank you to all the guys that contributed to the soundtrack of my youth. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and it hurts my heart to hear that Ace Frehley has passed away, and it hurts my heart to wonder who's going to be next. So guys, you never know. Folks, you never know when your time is. Hug the people you love and love the people you hug. Don't ever be ashamed. Don't ever feel like you need to apologize for telling someone that's special to you, hey man, I really love you. Thank you for making my life better. Because we never know. Ace Frehley, dead at 74, October 16th, 2025. Rest in peace, my man.